right, hello everybody. Welcome to Ask a Trader for NVDA week. Today just so happens to be the week of NVIDIA earnings. That's why I got my hat on here. It's going to significantly drive the markets one way or the other. And excited to take a look at the charts, answer any questions that you have, look at any charts that you may have. And so welcome. Glad that you guys can be here. We'll be on for about 30 minutes, depending on how many questions that you guys do have. We'll go the full 30 minutes. If not, then we'll just we'll end it early. But please feel free to drop your questions in the chat, and I'm here to help you. And today's an interesting day, pretty important day, because we have the FMOC meetings, right? So let me share my charts, and let's just go ahead and take a look at what's transpiring. So actually delete this line, so I'm drawing some stuff here. But you can see the FMOC minutes came out today, and let's actually take a look at what some of those highlights are here. You can see here, FMOC, these are summaries on TradingView. Many participants saw possibility high rates may be having smaller effects than in the past, that neutral rate might be higher. We got another one that says, although monetary policy is still seen as restrictive, many participants commented on their uncertainty about the degree of restrictiveness. And then we see here, FMOC minutes discussion echoes Chair Powell's post FMOC comments by still 2 rate cuts, not hikes, dependent on inflation data that's coming ahead. And let's see, more data had not increased the Fed's confidence in their progress towards a 2% target. Disinflation process likely to take longer. And let's see if there's one more. So FMOC minutes repeats inflation fight to take longer than previously thought. Repeats could cut rates if job markets significantly weaken. So let me just summarize all this for you. There's nothing new here that the Fed put in their minutes. Jerome Powell has been saying this all along. The Fed speakers, and we had a boatload of them this week and last week, they've been saying the same thing. So there's nothing here that's new, that's out of the ordinary. It's just in writing. But let's take a look at how the market reacted to this today. So we're looking at the daily chart here on the SPY. We hit all-time highs last week after the inflation report, but you could see that whenever the minutes came out, we got this sell-off on the S&P. Down we went. We got the same thing on the Qs. Down we went. Dow Jones, down we went. IWM, down we went. So you get the picture. The markets are uber sensitive right now in this period of desiring rate cuts voraciously. They want rate cuts, and they're not getting them. And so there's always going to be an overreaction in the markets. We saw it. There's a sell-off. But now what are we seeing as we're watching here? It's about 3:04 Eastern time. We're seeing things start to get bought up. You can see on the RSI we were oversold. And we'll see if the bulls pick this back up and push it back up. Now, we have been pushing higher since that CPI data that came in cooler last week. And so a little bit of selling is not a big deal. But really, what is the big event bigger than the FMOC minutes that came out at 2 p.m. today? What is it? It is NVIDIA earnings. So let's go over to the NVIDIA chart. Let's look at it on the daily. And here's what we have here. We have NVIDIA sitting up here near its all-time high. I have this line drawn as an upper trend line that it's got to break out of if it's to push higher. And you can see that the all-time high was made back on March 8th. That's 974.99. And I've been saying since probably December of this past year that we're going to hit $1,000. Now, I thought that there was an outside chance that we would have ran up to 1K before earnings. That didn't happen. And so it's likely that it could happen on earnings. Now, a couple of ways we could look at this. That sell-off that took place based on the FMOC minutes, based on looking at this chart, if you want to interpret this as a massive double top, right? If we're looking at this as a topping pattern, here's right there. Then you could see that we have ways to come down, or you could be looking at this like, all right, NVIDIA got its correction that started, really, we started selling back here on the 24th, but the correction from its highs, it's 22.48%. So it more than corrected. Can it come down more? Yes. But my take on this, because there's some selling coming into earnings, is that we do get a pop higher on their earnings that are reported at market close today. And the one thing that I think is potentially on the table for NVIDIA is a stock split. And so Jensen Huang, who is the CEO of NVIDIA, he's going to be talking today on the earnings call. I would not be surprised to hear him say, we're going to be splitting NVIDIA shares 10 to 1, 8 to 1, 5 to 1. I saw some people saying potentially 20 to 1. We don't know that that's going to happen. But if that does happen, it's going to send this thing flying. There could also be stock buybacks. But the most important thing that market makers want to see is that they beat these earnings estimates, this $5.60 per share and the revenue estimate of $24.593 billion. And typically what's been happening, if you go back and look at the previous earnings reports from NVIDIA, is they've been beating the estimates by at least 2 million. So in order for NVIDIA to fly, they're going to need to overcome 2 bill, not mil, 2 billion in revenue. Probably going to need to hit 3 billion in order to push us higher. And really, they're going to have to hang the moon. There's a saying, you got to hang the moon, you got to be perfect. And NVIDIA is going to have to do that today to crush higher. But it can. If there's one stock out there that can, NVIDIA's been the king of the stock market. If we just go back and look at their last earnings, you could see that we sold off coming into earnings. We got down here to the 20 EMA, and then we gapped up, and then that started to push higher to all-time highs. If you go to the prior earnings report that NVIDIA reported, this is back in November, it was pushing up higher into that date. It was selling on the day of earnings, and then it pulled back. So similar, it's kind of similar to what we saw this past November. What we're seeing here, got into that all-time high area, and then it sold down. But conditions were different back then. And what also could happen is we could have a gap up and then it sells off. And then, the other possibility is that we could have a massive gap up like we did last May, where this thing just smashed. And this really just kicked things off for the entire market. So lots of things can happen. We really haven't had a significant gap down for NVIDIA in a long time. And we're going to have to see how this plays out. If I'm going to put my thesis out there for what I think is going to happen, I think before this stock really does have a meaningful pullback, correction, and rest, kind of chopping along for a period of time, I believe that it's got to hit that $1,000 mark first. And I think it hits that $1,000 mark after earnings. I think you're going to see a jump on it. I think it's going to pull the entire market up with it. And we're going to get our next leg higher. And then we'll have a little bit of a pause, sideways movement correction this summer. But that's just how I'm seeing it play out. The key areas I'm watching for this thing, if it does gap down, the first spot, this 100 SMA on the daily's got a hold. So they're at 781.31. And then I have this marked as a support that can't break. And this was a low that NVIDIA made post-market when it was getting ready to report earnings back on February 21st. If it breaks this thing could come down very, very far, and it could wreck a lot of people, and it could wreck the markets. I just can't see that happening. So definitely keeping an eye on that. I think they report it like 405 or 415. It's not directly after. So just keep that in mind. But definitely going to set the tone for the next month and a half. So keep an eye on that. Just take a look at some other tickers here. Again, if you have questions, just go ahead and throw those in the chat. I don't see anything in there right now. But just some other notable moves that we've had so far this week. If you look at Tesla, yesterday it had a really strong push here. This nice big bullish engulfing candle. We ran up to the 100 SMA, almost $11. And notice how it rejected perfectly off that 100, just like it got rejected back on April 29th. And now we have an inside day pressure building here. People were waiting for the FMOC minutes, but this thing could be getting ready to take off. Once it clears all these moving averages, or at least the 100, it can run up to the 100 SMA on the weekly, that 211, or even this 214.04, that's a 200. And then price targets above that, 228.60, that being the 200 SMA on the weekly. But Tesla's showing some strength there. So keep an eye on that one. Let's just go take a look at a few others. Bitcoin, strong move on Monday. I mean, look at this thing, huge candle here, and wow. So 5,000 points for Bitcoin, and you're getting this nice little pullback, a little bit of a retest. That's fine, but the all-time high is in sights, 73,848. If it clears that, I have a price target on Bitcoin by the end of the year of 100,000. Definitely think that could happen. But what you saw as a result of this move here on Bitcoin is that some of your your crypto miners, Bitcoin mining companies, Mara, got a push, and you could see we have inside candles, pressure building, but there's nothing above this. That one could run. If we look at Coinbase, same thing. Actually, in a swing trade on this one, you could see that we're getting rejected there off the 50, but if it gets above that 50, there's nothing above it. So I think everybody's just waiting for NVIDIA earnings to see what's going to happen, and really to just direct where we're going next. Now, if we go back over to the broader markets, let's look at the SPY. If we do get poor results from NVIDIA, then, what are we looking at? We could see a pullback down into the 50 would be the first spot that I would expect to maybe see a bounce. But then if we do bounce there, I could see us coming back down and retesting that 100 again. So that's if we see negative news from NVIDIA in terms of their earnings. If it's positive and things are looking good for NVIDIA, then 5,400, we could get there. I'm not saying that's going to be right away, but I think we can hit that 5,400 before we pull back, and maybe these new all-time highs, which we seem to be setting every day, serves as a bit of support, and then maybe a push higher, and then maybe we'll get a correction before the next leg up. So really, that's what it's all about. It's all about NVIDIA, as the hat says. It's all about NVIDIA today, in terms of where we're going. Everybody's watching this. You have people playing both sides, your bulls and bears. There's a lot of put option volume on it. There's a lot of call option volume on it. And it's hard for me to bet against a company who is the king of AI, has been the king of the stock market. Now, I personally am not going to trade NVIDIA over earnings. I do have one little lonely call option that I'm going to let do its thing, whatever happens. If it's a loser, then it's a loser. I'm not worried about that, but I'm not playing this with big size because it's going to be volatile and risky. But the more important thing is this is going to drive where we're headed the next month and a half. And so I am excited. This is, I want to say it's like the Super Bowl, because that would mean we get 4 Super Bowls a year. But this is, you guys know that I'm a Steelers fan. This is definitely like a playoff game. So the anticipation is thick for what we're about to see here from NVIDIA earnings, and I'm excited. And so that's my little take here for the broader markets. Ask a Trader. Any questions, any charts you guys would like me to look at? I'm not going to keep you on here if not. And just a few things as we wrap up. Quiet group out there. I think you guys are just quiet in anticipation of the earnings too. But don't forget that we're going to be doing this next week again. So if you want to join, feel free, hop on. We'll probably either do this Wednesday or Thursday of next week. Don't forget that I'm going to be teaching my first ever day trading boot camp. That's going to kick off June 3rd. I will link that in the show notes for everybody if you're interested in being part of that. And please spread the word. Your trader investing friends, tell them to come on to Ask a Trader. I'd be more than happy to help them with any questions that you may have. And I will see you guys back here next week. Can't wait to talk about NVIDIA earnings. I hope you have a fantastic day, And thank you so much for being a part of Ask a Trader with Courage Pays Better Than Fear Trading. Take care, guys. Have a great one.